I'm Penina Glazer.
I'm Ron Ackerman.
Evie Glicker.
I'm Morris Gould.
My name is Cleo Gorman.
I've been here since 1949.
70-year-old retired social worker.
Living in Northampton since 1965.
I'm a wife, a mother.
I was the first member of CBI to have 5 children.
I came here to open up a business, a furniture store on King Street.
We moved to Northampton and we moved to the Valley from New York.
Came to Northampton to go to Smith when I was 18.
Member of B'nai Israel since 1972.
Retired elementary school teacher.
13 grandchildren.
Hi, my name is Rosie Tabachnik, and this is the movie about our synagogue, Congregation B'nai Israel. It's my bat mitzvah project, and it's a chance to explore how some of our longer-term members think and feel about the congregation. I interviewed each of them and gathered more than 3 hours of interview time, but don't worry, this is only a 9-minute segment. You just met these members of CBI, and now they'll be sharing some of their favorite memories of the early years in our congregation.
Well, what I love about the synagogue now is that it's got this wonderful, very vibrant community. All different people come and contribute to it, and everybody is very welcome, and it's just a very pleasant place to be. And in addition to that, I think we have a very good rabbi.
If you live in Northampton and you're part of the community, you run into each other everywhere you go.
I think the synagogue brings a sense of cohesiveness to the community. It used to be that if you were Jewish and you lived in Northampton and you wanted to belong somewhere, you belonged to CBI.
One of the beauties of our shul is that people are always arising to create different programs. Young mothers wanted a Jewish day's nursery school. Hence was Gan Keshet born.
By virtue of our being close to having 400 members, we're now able to do many more programs and kinds of programs than we used to do. I like to say we have a critical mass of people so that virtually any program we run will have enough people show up to make it a success.
Well, I like the service on Saturday morning. And I think that synagogue is now thriving, considering way back then there wasn't too much for young people to do, but the young people are in there right now having a good time. Nothing was organized in the days when my daughter was going to the synagogue.
I loved hearing how one person can make a difference. Ruth Peel said, "Find a need and fill it." Then I got interested in what our congregation was like in the early years.
And so one of the nicest memories is of the early Sisterhood Shabbat, where a group of women said, let's show that women can do things, and let's all learn how to lead the service and really take over the whole thing. And in the beginning, before that, Sisterhood Shabbat was just meant that the women made very nice food, that they didn't really participate, but they just made very nice food for the Kiddush. So when they asked the rabbi, the then rabbi, whose name was Ed Friedman, could they have a different kind of Sisterhood Shabbat where the women would participate and they would become more knowledgeable and they would become leaders? He was a nice man, and he said, well, okay, but you're still going to bring those really good refreshments, aren't you? So once they assured him that they would bring a really nice lunch, he let them do that, and that began what is now an annual tradition. And
when we joined the synagogue, women didn't have the right to vote. That was in 1975. And then the board, in all of its wisdom, said 1 vote per family. And this woman that from the outside you would have thought was just a conservative ballabuster, got up and said, "Will some of these people tell me how you divide a vote in half?" You know, she would have an issue and her husband would have the opposite. And her clarity and strength really carried the day in my opinion, so that it's now one person, one vote, which is equitable.
It was much smaller. There were only 100 members, maybe 105 by the time I joined. And everybody was pitching in. All the teachers were volunteers, and most everything was done by volunteers. It was so much smaller. We had a full-time rabbi, but we had an office manager.
I have a memory of going to CBI where people sat in the back row and read newspapers. Nobody took part in the davening. It was very much led by whoever led it, and I don't even remember if there was a rabbi, but it was not organized and not very inspiring at all.
It's clear that our congregation has changed a lot over the years. I really loved hearing that one person could make such a difference in the Jewish community. That's pretty cool. So what makes CBI so unique?
Most people really like the melodies they're familiar with. It's very natural. And when they hear melodies that they're not familiar with, it makes them uncomfortable for a while until they get familiar with it. And when I was on the ritual committee years ago with one of our senior members, Leonard Alberts, senior in many ways, I don't necessarily mean age, he was on the committee with me. And two of our members came to the committee complaining about the melodies that were being used at services. They weren't traditional. And Leonard, who was probably 60 at the time and had been a member of our congregation for 50 or 40 of those 60 years, turned to them and said, "You know, what you think is traditional wasn't traditional 20 years ago. And 20 years ago, when they thought something was traditional, it wasn't traditional 20 years before that. And 10 years from now, what you think is traditional won't be traditional." Such a relative term. What's being done in our synagogue now is not your tradition, but is certainly someone's tradition. And that really spoke to me, that as uncomfortable as we might be with new melodies, that's part of the evolution.
Almost on every big step, some church helped.
I think the young people make it special. It's amazing when I see all these young people go up and read the Torah and do certain things that not many people in my day ever did.
Morris and Ron have some words of advice for the young people.
I think they're doing great. Keep doing what they're doing. Love each other, have a good time, and enjoy the religion.
I guess only that it's wonderful to be part of the kind of community that we have that supports each other the way we do and is there for each other.
And once in a while you have to challenge your rabbi, you know.
Now you wanted stories.